Fears for Angela Merkel's health have been sparked after Germany's health minister tested positive for coronavirus, hours after he met the Chancellor for a meeting. Jens Spahn, 40, announced on Twitter that he had contracted the disease and would recuperate at home as he experiences only cold symptoms. His tweet came hours after he donned a face mask as he sat with Mrs. Merkel, 66, and fellow cabinet members for a weekly meeting. With his diagnoses, Mr. Spahn became the first member of Mrs. Merkel's cabinet to contract COVID-19. A spokesman for the German government said cabinet members would not be required to go into isolation, despite them being in the same room as someone suffering from COVID-19. He said social distancing was observed at the gathering and hygiene rules adhered to. The spokesman said, the federal cabinet meets in compliance with hygiene and distance rules, which aim to ensure that even if a person who later tests corona positive were to participate, quarantining of other or even all participants would not be necessary. Mr. Spahn sounded as if he was in good spirits as he began his quarantine. He tweeted, "I am isolated at home and convalescing. I hope everyone I've been in contact with stays healthy. Let's all watch out for each other." Last year the Chancellor was hit by a health scare when she was seen shaking uncontrollably in public. She later said she felt fine, and had probably been dehydrated. Karl Lauterbach, an SPD member of the Bundestag and health expert, said ministers should not be forced into isolation. He said, the ministers have to continue working with a mask. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier will remain in quarantine until October 29 because one of his bodyguards tested positive for coronavirus. So far, he has been tested twice and got negative results. Mrs. Merkel spent 2 weeks in isolation in March after she came into contact with a doctor who had coronavirus. She underwent multiple tests, all of which came back negative. If the Chancellor contracted coronavirus, there is a set of rules in place to ensure the federal government continues to function in her absence. There are also rules that would guarantee the country's parliament, the Bundestag, could continue to act in a time of crisis. Vice-Chancellor Olaf Scholz of the SPD would take the lead, under Article 69 of the Basic Law.